Hi everyone, this is Juliet here and Brigitte, and we're starting with a moment of silence. So I just want to check whilst we're having a moment of silence whether we're going live. So I'm not sure if we're going live or not.
It does say you've been live for 58 seconds. Oh, yes. Abigail, beautiful blessings, wise, wonderful women. Thank you, Abigail. Now we know we're live thanks to you.
Okay, so Abigail, where are you watching us from? Because I'm not seeing it on my Facebook page in this moment.
I can see you on FB and YouTube. Oh my, you're on both. Okay. Wonderful. Thank you.
Oh,
So
thank you.
how are you feeling, Abigail, before we start while we're waiting? You're live, Juliet. Yes. FB and YouTube. Okay. Oh my, you're on both. Okay, Abigail, before we start, while we why do we
Okay,
have
it's
a
working.
very wet Scotland.
Well,
And
that's
how are
good.
you feeling? I would love to weave your very wet Scotland, Abigail, with a beautiful friend of mine, of ours, who lives in the north of Australia, in the Kimberley, and they've had nearly 9 months of absolute heat at 40 degrees, and she's desperately waiting for the wet, the rain. So you're feeling fed up with everything. Okay. Yes, so Jack is watching on YouTube, can't see you on FB yet. Well, Abigail can see us, Jack, so that is okay. So if you're fed up with everything, what would support you, Abigail, today? What would really support you? Give us a thread that would really, because fed up with everything, it's like the cup is full with a food that is not nurturing you. So, how could we fill that cup with an abundance that would really support you? So, Melanie, hello, Melanie. So,
Melanie,
Jack got you on FB. Yeah, okay.
so
So,
just to say, I'm having a little bit of a problem from my end, but
okay.
it's good you're seeing everyone, Brigitte. But I'm not seeing any chat at all. There's something kind of frozen.
Well, I can deal with that for both of us.
Yeah.
Melanie saying hello, Melanie King, and Jack is saying now you got you on Facebook now. Wonderful.
Oh, good.
So thank you, Melanie.
Yeah, I don't know what. Oh no, that's not working.
Well, if you look beside Restream, there is Melanie King that just the last said hello.
Yeah, nothing's showing. I've just
And
got a white.
Marianne MacDonald is saying hello, dear ones. Hello, beautiful Marianne.
So, Brigitte, it's completely over to you to do this because I have just a white square where the chat usually appears. So,
I so enjoyed last week's video with you lovely ladies, says Abigail, where we enjoyed doing each one of you. Because if, oh, Juliet's gone.
oh, I'm here.
Oh, she's back again.
I don't know what's going.
So I'm trying to tune in to the field, the energy field. And I had my granddaughter earlier on was feeling very low. And I've just had Abigail saying that you are fed up with everything. So maybe I will read this beautiful poem. And from that poem, we might go into a few minutes of silence. Yes, and then maybe go with what are we being grateful for today? Yeah, just this moment, what are we being grateful for? I'm being grateful for this moment of sharing. As we're moving into Halloween, we will speak a little bit about Halloween during this call because beautiful Juliet has been listening to some very deep information and was very fired up. But it's pretty dark information as well, and I really feel we need to raise our spirits. And I was going to come in with something from the Looking Glass, which is a recent information I listened to.
Yeah,
So
looking
maybe
glass.
we could weave, yes, through the Looking Glass, which is like Alice in Wonderland, and the Looking Glass is a technology. So I'm going to share that beautiful poem because I really feel as we enter autumn, it may offer some resourcing. Oh, you're in a car park, Melanie. Okay. Can you hear us clearly? All right. So this poem was written by the master Thich Nhat Hanh, who was one of the boat people
Oh, yes, that's so beautiful.
coming with the boat people who created the Plum Village in France. Your live feed has gone, Juliet.
Light
Abigail says your live feed has gone, Juliet.
gone
And
from where?
Melanie is saying yes. So what
Light
does
feed
it
is
mean?
gone from where?
Your live feed has gone, Juliet. Can you say from where, please, Abigail? Oh, it's back on. Okay. Well, it looks like right now, beautiful ones, the internet is playing up because there's so much being collapsed and the inverted matrix is being collapsed all over the world, which means that we're going to have maybe electricity cuts, internet cuts, phone lines going down, all sorts of things. So may I invite patience and may invite each one of us today to stay in the heart, in the cup of the heart. So here we go with Thich Nhat Hanh, Master Thich Nhat Hanh. I asked the leaf whether it was scared because it was autumn and the other leaves were falling down. The leaf told me, no, during the whole spring and summer, I was very alive. I worked hard and helped nourish the tree, and much of me is in the tree. Please do not say that I am just this form, because the form of leaf is only a tiny part of me. I am the whole tree. I know that I am already inside the tree. And when I go back to the soil, I will continue to nourish the tree. That is why I do not worry. As I leave this branch and float to the ground, I will wave to the tree and tell her, I will see you again very soon. Master Thich Nhat Hanh. And in this beautiful poem, we have everything. We have what we touched last week on the rhythm of the seasons, the rhythm of the new moon and the full moon, and the power of the sun and the moon. And right now we are moving into the Halloween. And I would love to hold that poem, which is offering hope, because although the leaves are falling down in golds and rusts and browns, children and adults are going to walk and hear the sound of the crushing leaves under their feet. and they're going to pick up chestnuts and walnuts and apples. And this is the time of the abundance of the crops. And with the crops, we have the Halloween. And sadly, Halloween has been used with the inverted matrix to go into satanic rituals, which Juliet had a little clip tonight she wanted to share. But there is such a charge of the warrior in there, and there is so much happening right now, that unless the group is okay, we might share that at the end, maybe, or middle, because it is the energy of the warrior, like in the film, beautiful film with, was it Mel Gibson and Scotland?
Yes, it was a film by Mel Gibson, The Passion of Christ.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So I just wanted to share that poem.
I don't think Halloween is, I think that's a kind of artificially constructed
It is.
Ceremony. It's nothing at all about the change of the seasons, but it's gained traction in maybe the last, I don't know, 20 years in the UK and France when I first heard of it.
Well, we didn't have it in France. It came from America. It rolled from the UK.
But it came to the UK. The first time I heard of it was when my children were about 4 years old.
Yeah.
Because traditionally we always celebrated Bonfire Night.
Yeah.
And Bonfire Night in itself is like a celebration which is on one of the cross-quarter days of the Celtic calendar, where the Celtic calendar is all about celebrating the movements, as you're referring to, the movements of the seasons through time, the solstices, the winter and summer solstice, and the equinoxes. So that's the cross, that which is the equinoxes is the 20th. Is the beginning of spring and the beginning of autumn. So that's the cross.
Yes.
Solstice, equinox. But then you have the cross quarters, which are the fire ceremonies between those pivotal moments. So also they're marking the movement of the seasons, like Beltane, the start of the first stirrings. Beltane, Lugnasad, Samhain. So Halloween is on the cross-quarter day of Samhain, the Celtic calendar. So it's
Can I stop you a second? Hold on to that thread, please, Julia. That's very profound, and I love it because it weaves into my lovely friend in Australia and how to bring back the communities to the authentic rituals, celebrations, ceremonies, and move away from the deviations. So what we have here, Melanie said, I have to leave the car park. The poem was beautiful. I could see an oak tree as you spoke. Debbie is saying, I absolutely love the poem, so evocative. It's just how I imagine autumn. I love it. I wish both of you were on every day. Therese, hello, beautiful Therese. She's saying hello. Abigail, Therese Mayer, yes, she's trauma healer. We're saying hello.
Hi, Therese, Abigail. Sorry, I can't see the chat at all, so I'm reliant on Brigitte. So
it's okay, and maybe if you could just hear me mirroring back what you just shared, because mirroring is very important. As you voice, I'm mirroring back what you shared. Abigail, we do not celebrate Halloween. I'm so glad to hear that. My youngest nephew had his birthday on the 31st. So there we are, and Jack was really touched too by the poem. So I can't, yes, that poem is beautiful. Beautiful words. So there we are. So Juliet, can you go back then to the those crosses and the ceremony after the midwinter? We are moving towards between those celebrations. We're going to go to Christmas, which is another celebration.
Yeah, Christmas is a Christian celebration which has been placed on top of the original Celtic celebration of the
Totally.
winter solstice.
Yes.
So, you know, that the Halloween is a hijacking of that time of the cross-quarter day of Samhain,
Yeah.
where in ancient times they said it's the thinning of the veils. It's the way you can. Is it All Hallows Day or something in France where you take the chrysanthemums and
Yes.
remember your loved ones?
Yeah, in France, it's really an homage to all the lineage of those who have gone. And
Yeah.
so it's a family gathering. There is none of this pumpkin and the light. But why not, if that delights some of them, because they can once a year, which used to be Mardi Gras in France. Mardi Gras was another religious celebration after doing the 40 days of not eating meat, etc. We used to have a day of pancakes. It was called Mardi Gras with celebration and dressing up. That was in France. But this Halloween, we didn't have any of that. And the saints, it's like really, this is a moment when we all come together, we eat together. Samhain, we honor our ancestors who have gone before us. We light candles and make space for them. Yes, that is right, Abigail. And Halloween is a corruption. Yes, it's been deviated. You have to remember that the way the false matrix is being set into place is to use to copycat. So they copy the light, they copy the celebration, and they invert it. They transform it into a dark a dark ceremony and ritual with a very dark energy, pulling us down into the dark form. And
So
what I want, yeah, I just want to say something. There are two processes in life: the 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 involution process, which is pulling into form, and the evolutionary process, pulling us into the light. And the key is to bring balance into those two. So the key with the dark, okay, the I won't name them, is to keep us enslaved into the form, over-identify with matter, over-identify that all our pleasures will be with matter, from sexual deviations, and Juliet will speak about that too because it's so profound. So if we stay with Samhain, which you talked about, Juliet, I'd love to hear a little bit more, because for us it really is a time of honoring those who've moved on, and yes, and how to bring that back.
yes, it's a ceremony of the light, isn't it? Although it's honouring our ancestors, it's another fire ceremony, a ceremony of light.
Right.
And I think it's really important at this point in time, since it has been hijacked by the dark forces as a time of huge satanic ritual and abuse of children. And
That is still going on.
that
That
is
is right at the end now. We are at the end of this. It is months of October, November. It is collapsed. It's being collapsed. Okay.
yeah. So Brigitte's very much in tune with the fact that the war is won, and we have been talking a lot about we are in a war. And we've been sharing about that for a long time with the whole hoaxes that's going on. And what's underneath the hoax is actually the satanic abuse, the child trafficking, the human trafficking and abuse of children. And this Halloween is a point of time where they are at their peak of this kind of abuse of children. And so it's good to know, and we'll refer to the Looking Glass project that we've both been researching into this week. It's good to know that actually the end is in sight, and this war, this false matrix that's been going on for thousands of years is actually coming to an end. Inevitably, it's coming to an end, and they can't win. But meanwhile, each one of us can do something to bring that end faster and closer, which is to shine the light. And I think particularly on Halloween now, knowing that it has been hijacked and children will be harmed. No doubt children will still be harmed, maybe not so many, but that we actually light a candle, make a beautiful altar, and actually honor our ancestors and honor the wisdom of our grandmothers, grandfathers, people behind us that's lifting us up at this moment in time, to make a beautiful ceremony of the light and offer it up and transform the attempts to bring us down into the darkness with this kind of cruelty and ritual, satanic ritual abuse and so on. That we really shine a light on that and offer it up to the light at this time.
That really resonates. Maybe we could invite the group that is here today just to sit around that fire of Samhain. And yes, just hold a moment of silence for every one of those children who were against their will, were abducted, abused, and even killed in the most horrendous, painful ways. And we do need that light. And we need to shine it down our ancestral lineage and within the collective trauma. And what comes here is through fear of speaking, of standing. This has just gone on, been perpetuated for thousands and thousands of years, because we have not voiced out of fear, and that fear was trapped in the trauma. Which now we can see right in our face. And it's quite a shock for people who feel it in their energy field, in their body. They feel it through their body. And they feel that depression, they feel that pulling down. So I would invite each one of you at this time not only to sit by the light, but really to resource. What are your resources as we move into the dark, which is deep initiation? Like that leaf that fell from the tree. She's not dead, she's bringing everything that she has experienced, the light, the wind, the rain, the seasons, the moons, and she's taking that and all the lessons and the sounds of the birds and the bees and the flowers and the fruits. She's taking all that and going to be a beautiful carpet on the earth around that tree. And that's what I would love to hold around those children. A soft carpet of remembering, bringing their members, who they were, in their soul, because their bodies suffered, but so did their souls. And as a doula, I dare to say I am a doula. I do guide souls. They long for us to help them move on, because they were their beautiful bodies were tarnished, soiled. Let's see their souls as the most beautiful light. That's what I wanted to share. It's deep. This Halloween is a deep time. I have pictures of my parents and my grandparents at my altar. That's so beautiful, Abigail. And you are the picture. You are there too, because it's through them that you are carrying those gifts. So beautiful. So from here, Juliet wanted to share that warrior from the masculine place of that. And maybe for those who would love it, what do you feel about sharing the link?
No, I put it underneath the video, so if people would like to listen to this man, Jim Caviezel, who played the part of Jesus in The Passion of Christ, and he talks about the importance of actually standing up against this evil, to stand up against Satan, and that we have no freedom unless we are willing to stop appeasing the devil, unless we're willing to stop condoning evil. We have to stand up and shine the light. So what's the point of a life where we're appeasing and giving way to evil in order to get the idea that we're free, when we're not free, if we have to do bad things in order to carry on living? That's not freedom.
So it's what I resonate with you, Juliet, is when do we become compliant? When do we hand over our power? And when do we walk upon ourselves?
Yeah, exactly. And he points out as well that with all the children, the huge thousands and thousands and thousands of children that go missing, and the child trafficking and the abuse, there's many millions of people who are involved in doing that. That are acting on behalf of the perpetrators. That are catching the children, that are taking them away. It's dealing with the whole thing, and it's like asking humanity to stop appeasing and to stop going along with this. Same as, stop wearing the masks, stop going along with the hoax, because this hoax is just a cover up for what's actually underneath the surface, with the total inversion of all that is sacred.
Of course. And it's totally illegal in France to wear a mask. It's illegal to hide your face in France. And they are breaking every law, but they are lawless. Satan, the dark forces, not Lucifer. Lucifer is a carrier of light. He's an archangel. His name has been misused. So I just want to honor. It's about Satan. And in the other dimension, Lucifer is, is just handed over to the divine. So true, Juliet, they're hiding everything from us. Yes, but we have to look, we have to lift the veil. It's written in the Bible. One day the veil will tear and you will see me face to face. We will see everything face to face.
Absolutely. And that's very interesting, because that brings us to a sharing about the Looking Glass project, which you sent me a link to recently.
Yeah.
And I don't know if anybody has seen that, but I found it really inspiring, because the outcome of that is that the battle is won, that we have won, that we're still going through this process of the end game, if you like, but we have won.
Yes, it's so profound. And Jack is saying we can't shine darkness into the light. Well, we can shine our light into the shadow. I would say I can shine my light into the darkness of the shadow, and sometimes the shadow comes into my light to be seen, Jack. when I get activated mega big time. Yeah, like when my children or grandchildren had the jab, the injections. Yes, the darkness was here, and I had to, yes, that was the shadow, and I had to work with that with my light.
Yeah, and
So,
we're all having a lot of shadow to deal
yeah,
with at this moment in time
yeah.
as we get really activated and stirred around those unresolved traumas.
But I really hear we can only shine your light into the darkness. But remember, the tree has a shadow. The sun, when it shines on the tree, has a shadow. When we walk and the sun is behind us, we have a shadow. And sometimes we walk in our shadow. So it's not as simple as that. So, yes, in that beautiful whistleblowers, there were 3 whistleblowers, and they were sharing about that amazing looking glass, which is a genuine technology that belongs with the American Army. So they have the technology, like the black hole technology, and the key for the dark forces was to warp time and to interfere in the future. That was their database they wanted to put into the future to keep humanity in
It's
the
like,
enslavement programs.
yeah.
But
And then
what happened?
they
Sorry.
had a shock. They had a shock when they found that they couldn't do it anymore. That there
Yes,
came an absolute point, an end point, where no matter what they did, they couldn't change the outcome. And there was this absolutely fixed outcome that they had no control over.
that's it. And the fixed outcome which they said, and the whistleblower said, because he was asking them, what do you want to achieve? And they wouldn't tell him. They called him to fix the problem, and he's no longer working for that. But what he said every time, the convergence to that point was humanity is awakening.
Yeah,
And that was so profound. It really touched my soul because it really touches into what I have felt. So, Jack, they can't shine their darkness into our light. We can only shine your light into the darkness. I won't have a debate on that. Thank you. They can't shine their darkness. Well, they're trying. They're doing it quite well with their deception. They are stealing our lights. That's what they're doing. They're stealing. They have been stealing. I'm working now from a quantum level of energy. What the dark forces, they don't have light. Okay, the dragons don't have light. The artificial intelligence don't have light, and they need light. So they steal.
I
They
like.
steal from us, and it's in that sense that I was saying how they put their darkness into our light. Okay, so it's a little bit more complex, but
Yeah.
thank you for your comment, Jack.
So so this scientist was called in by the people using this technology that had created the technology to warp time,
Yeah,
not by huge amounts, but just by small amounts, so that they could get the desired outcomes, feeding
mm,
information into their supercomputer. But it would always converge on this one point, which, as
mm,
Brigitte
mm,
said, the scientists interpret as its time of great awakening for humanity. That
yes,
humanity would suddenly see the truth, which is
yes,
what's happening now. More and more people are seeing the truth about the
yes,
child trafficking, the
yeah, yeah,
satanic abuse, that the sickness is a hoax.
yes,
All these things, like the collapse of the things that happened in America, all the false flags that have happened where they've attempted to deceive
mm,
us over generations and generations. Humanity is now seeing through it.
mm,
So he said how he felt about it when he looked was that there was this complex chess game going on, and we're
mm,
at the point of checkmate.
mm,
And the chess game is between the forces of light, or Satan, and God. And that both players absolutely know at this point in time that they're at the end of the game and there is no other outcome.
mm, mm,
And that Satan knows that he can do is to delay the end.
Mm.
And God knows that he's absolutely going to win.
Mm.
And that there is absolutely no other outcome. And it's just a matter of time.
And it's up to us.
It's up to
And
us at this
yet,
point in time.
Abigail has written, they're trying to put fear into us. Yes, because fear lowers your frequency. So it's okay. Okay, I've got fear. I'm inviting fear to my table like I did last week. I feel you. What is the information you wish to share with me? Okay. So maybe I haven't resourced myself. Okay.
Yeah.
Like my granddaughter to do. So how about going for a walk? How about having a drink? How about having a fruit? How about listening to a bird singing?
Yeah,
How
just
about looking at the autumn leaves? How about hugging someone you love? How about hugging a tree? Just every moment by moment, engaging with life, but not engaging with the stories that they want you to believe in. That's the key. They want to keep you enslaved in their storyline, okay? In their, yes, the stage. They've put a stage
the
and they're
false
putting a
matrix.
new play. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And every day they're putting a new play. But do I engage in the play or do I see that it's on new play?
yeah,
And at that moment, I have a choice. And my choice right now is not to give any energy to them. Because if
yes,
I do, I'm feeding the dark with my light.
absolutely. To stay conscious, even if you're feeling fearful, to stay conscious.
Yeah,
I am experiencing fear in this moment, and to be curious, what is this about?
that's wonderful. Yeah.
Is this my shadow, my reactivity being triggered by what's going
Mm,
on? What does
mm,
that inform me about what's happened to me in the past? But
yeah.
now that I'm suddenly stuck and I'm projecting a different scenario onto
Mm,
what's actually happening.
yes. That's very profound. Because we do get activated. All of us, we get activated. We've got a heavy bill, or we have lost job, or we have no work, or we are homeless. But there's going to be millions of people homeless without job, I mean, because everyone is walking out of work. I was watching this beautiful video of the Italian stewardesses of um, the airline Italia, and they all stood in a huge place,
The
and
air
that,
hostesses.
that was sorry, Juliet.
The air hostesses.
Yes, the air hostesses. They all arrived fully dressed with their coat. They took their coat, put it down on the ground, and then they stood and started taking the tie very slowly, then the jacket, then the skirt. And they stood, they took their shoes, and then they came in a circle with their beautiful white, a bit like an underwear white, very, very prim and clean and beautiful white, standing in their light, surrounding, and says, never will we agree to the sanitary pass, to the vaccination, and to all that. And
Yeah,
they said, we're just leaving. And it's the same with the nurses in France and the hospitals.
yeah. And I saw a beautiful demo in Switzerland as well, with all the men with ox yoke on them. They're
Ah,
all wearing that to demonstrate they would not be treated like herd animals.
wonderful.
Yeah. So millions and millions and millions
Yeah.
of people are stepping out of their jobs to say, I will not give my energy to this false matrix.
Beautiful. That
Yeah.
is so profound. That's so profound. And another thing we need to remember when I hear you say that, I've got a yoke too, because there used to be bulls and cows here, and my father had one too. But the animals too are part of that ascension of consciousness. So Sometimes we think we humans are the most evolved on planet Earth. We are the youngest on this planet Earth, the youngest. Let us remember that. That brings me into humility. And the animals are so wise. So Abigail has just written, people are seeing the truth, not the lies that they're trying to feed us. Yes, a lot of them, Abigail, but there is still quite a huge portion in amnesia still. It's going to take a little bit more. That is why it's taking so long. And another thing that was shared on another platform was there was a deal that was made with the dark forces. There was a deal in 2012, and they breached that deal. Okay, remember that ascension, we were meant to do it in 2012. It is written in all the Inca books and all the transmissions. But they cheated, but they would cheat because they don't know anything else. They're disconnected from their feelings. Okay. Thank you for your loving guidance. Kathy English. Hello, beautiful Kathy. It's the first time I see you, or have you been here last week? So, beautiful Kathy, where are you? Your name is Kathy English. Are you in England or are you in America? Or are you somewhere else? I'd love to know where you're coming from.
Yeah, tell us where you are, Kathy.
Or maybe you're a bit shy. Or maybe you're feeling cheeky because you're clapping your hands. My first time here, Pennsylvania, USA. Oh, hello, Kathy.
Wow, amazing.
Lovely. Well, I did invite Amy from America, somewhere close to where you live. So lovely to see you.
Yeah, Kathy, how did you find us? How did you find the video?
Yes, how did you find the elders' wisdom in uncertain times? Do tell us. We are curious as to elders. My little girl would love to know, how did you find us, Kathy? Please. Jack Cox is written under Kathy English. Why is he written Jack Cox? Oh, on Facebook through Jack Cox. Right. Okay. Thank you, Jack. You've done
Yeah.
great work.
Thank you.
Yeah. Wonderful. So through Jack. Wonderful. Well, Jack has, yes, ma'am. Ah, I'm not used to being called ma'am. There's the ma. It is beautiful. Ma is for the mother, and the Shekinah and the Pachamama. I love that. Thank you. So we were with a looking glass, and if you saw in that video, there was like Alice in the looking glass, Alice in Wonderland. There is a little rabbit, the rabbit. So that means that the battle is really at the end. We are at the end, and we, if I encourage you, we are moving now. This is the age, we've just moved into Scorpio. And Scorpio has to do with the 8th house. And the 8th house has to do with the energy of Pluto and Mars. But Pluto is the lord of the underworld. He's the one that can do the abduction to bring you into an initiation into the darkness. So Pluto has to do with breaking the old form so something can be reborn. But the 8th house has to do with sexuality. And it can be to do with perversion, justice, deviation of energy. So it's 8th house and 2nd house. 2nd house is money, Taurus, Venus, relationship. And 8th house has to do with court cases, law, inheritance, and sexuality. And it's ruled by Pluto. And right now, Pluto is in Capricorn, is finishing to break down what is not serving life, what is not serving the values to support the new earth. We, humanity.
Yes. So
Or
we
we
can
had to.
all work with that. We can all work with breaking down what's not serving you.
Yes, yes, including in your house. So what can you gift to someone else? Because Uranus is in Taurus, and Uranus it's the voice of the people. We have moved into the age of Aquarius. The next 2,000 of years are going to be the awakening. And this is why we are moving. And this is why looking through that looking glass with those whistleblowers, there is no turning back. This is a cosmological divine plan. So there is not going to be any room for the dark to keep its power over. Why? Because the frequencies of light, of love, and compassion are being amped up through each one of us. So the more we engage in that process, and this is the work of Juliet and my work, Juliet teaches trauma healing. She's a trauma healer, and she does amazing work, and she really holds it absolutely safe. You are absolutely 100% safe with Juliet. She's one of the safest people I've ever met to hold trauma and dissociation and bring you back into a coherent field where your nervous system feels at peace again. And I speak for myself. I was deeply traumatized. We need Archangel Michael, the unjustified, says Abigail. Is there? Archangel Michael is there with someone who will only retake the presidency of the United States for a few months. Is there? I have known that from the beginning. So, but there are things that we cannot reveal because then it gives food for the dark. We have to learn to know how to hold our voice and when to speak. Does that speak to you, Juliet?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's all about holding. It's about creating safety. Creating safety and moving into full consciousness. It's not creating safety by becoming dissociated. It's becoming much more conscious and to be able to do that in small stages so that you can really hold it.
Yes, it's tiny, or Juliet always said, one step at a time, one breath at a time. And because when you start healing, every part of you that's been dissociated or left in dark corners, left without light, frozen, excluded, abandoned, they all are saying, yes, please, me too, me too. But you can only take one little piece at a time. Otherwise, you go into overwhelming again. Thank you, Juliet. That was beautiful. Now, Marianne just shared, Pluto is doing a bang up job. What does that mean, a bang up job? I'm not English. Is that a Scottish expression? Is it a good job, Marianne? It's biting the tongue. As we see in Scotland, it's biting the tongue. I don't know what that means. I'm French, sorry. There's some of your expressions, I love them. So biting the tongue. Oh, yes, biting the tongue when? Yes.
Holding back.
Yes, holding back from saying something that would be painful.
So how can we do that? How can we keep that balance of bringing something more and more into consciousness in a way that's held and isn't going to create complete overwhelm? Because that's where we're needing to go at this point in time.
Yes.
For the whole of humanity to heal.
So can we just stay in presence and witness moment by moment, which means staying present, aligned? Abigail, can you adopt me, maybe? If you knew how many adoptions I have already.
I'm sure there's room for more, Brigitte.
Sorry?
I'm sure there's room for more.
Oh, I don't know. My heart is just bursting at the moment. So it means everything is being revealed and taken down. Yes, Marianne, that's what it means. Bang up job. Thank you. I've learned a new expression. I love it. So, yes, how can we stay in presence, witnessing this collective trauma right in our face? It's huge. I mean, it's a wailing wall. If you remember, in Jerusalem, there is a wall called the Wailing Wall. But the wall is wailing now. It's crying. It's screaming. We can hear it. And we can hear the furies as well, the ones that have been betrayed. The earth has been betrayed and abused. She is furious. We have ripped oil of everything. We have, I mean, what's been done to Mother Earth is just unfathomable. But what's been done to her is being done to our bodies now, too. And how can we be with that? I would say, witness moment by moment. What am I putting? What are the words I'm saying? What are my thoughts? And am I acting or am I not acting? And if I act, am I helping this person or am I not going to help this person? Am I going to disempower that person? So that's what I would say personally, how to stay in presence, align in my heart, and witness what is unfolding without adding onto it my fear, and going a little bit deeper with what are my skills? What am I born? What do I carry? What have my ancestors offered me on this Halloween? Was it Abigail? You said that you had your parents and grandparents on your altar, I think, and I think most of us have. Let's connect with what are the gifts they left us. Do we remember what they have shared with us? Not just where they were not there for us. I'm not talking about where they were not there for us. I'm talking about what is my strength. My mother gave me courage. She didn't have a voice, but I have found my voice through the trauma work, through the shamanic healing, and all sorts of things. How do we find these gifts, Kathy? They are in you, my darling. They are you. You are that gift, Kathy. You are that gift. So let's have a look at you, okay? For example, Juliet's gifts. Juliet, talk to us about your gifts, darling.
My
Please.
gift.
Yeah,
Mm.
from within.
Well, yes, having the courage to stand up even when I'm terrified.
Mhm.
Having the faith in myself when I'm feeling like, who am I?
Mhm.
Just allowing myself to be, even though parts of me would want to hide away.
Mm.
Having the resilience to keep going in the face of endless difficulties and struggles, just to keep putting one foot in front of the next.
Mm.
To keeping my heart open even when I've been hurt so many times.
Mm.
Many gifts.
Mm. Your cup is full. There is still a lot more I know about you. Absolutely dedicated, courageous, hardworking. And when Juliet comes back to a French house and I go with her, sometime we spend a whole week hacking, burning, cleaning, clearing, tending, loving, sitting with a cup of tea in silence, watching the birds, listening to the night sounds, feeling the valley going silent. And what she hasn't said, she's a great friend. She's a very faithful friend. That's a gift. And she's got a big heart. That's another gift that she has.
Bless you, Brigitte.
And Graham Baker said, sorry, I'm embarrassing you. Am I embarrassing you? We're talking about the gift because it's important. I have questions. How do we find these gifts? Well, identifying them How was your mother? How was your father? Where did they not, when were they not there for you? And when did you have to find inside you that resilience to cope with a certain situation? So Graham, Graham Baker, listening along with my wife, Debbie Baker. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank
hi,
you so
Debbie.
much. Hi, Debbie. And Kathy, thanks for sharing. You sound courageous. Yes, Juliet is courageous. Abigail, I love sitting, knitting, and watching our goldfinches that we feed coming in. That's beautiful. So, knitting. Do you know what happens when you knit, Abigail? Do you know what it says? When a baby is born, all the midwife has to do is sit with her knitting.
Mm.
Because what happens when she's knitting, and that's something Juliet shared with us, and one of the trauma healers on our course, who is she's she's a midwife, Julia, and she was saying that when you knit, you go into that place like a meditative state. And that means the work, the process of birthing can happen because you don't stand with your angst or your anxiety or your anguish or your fears. Yes. And that's important. So Debbie is a regular listener. She posted further up regarding her love for the poem. Yes, thank you. I did see that, but it's a bit difficult because when they go down, it's more difficult for me to have access to those that have been. Yes, that poem. We will put it into the feed. Juliet, I will share it with Juliet and put it in the feed.
Yeah, thank you,
So,
Brigitte. It's beautiful.
so when I knit, I find peace. Yes. So you have a key to some of your codes. Your codes have to do with weaving. Knitting has to do with taking a thread and two needles, and you're weaving your medicine, and your medicine is taking you into peace. And that peace is a very profound quality that we need right now on the planet Earth.
Absolutely. And when you do that for yourself and you're regulating your nervous system in this way, then it
Yes.
actually regulates everybody around you and brings everybody into that sense of
Yeah.
quietness and peace.
Yeah. So that was a little thread for Kathy. Has that helped you, Kathy, or do you want a little bit more? For example, I will share my gifts. I lost my voice when I was a child because my mother had no voice. And as a seer, I could see in between the veils, between this world and another world. And when I mentioned it to my mother or my father, I was told this world did not exist and it was in my imagination. And when I said, but they're asking for help, and I was just told to no longer mention it. So I had to put a lead on that. But now I am no longer putting a lead on that. And it does take courage to acknowledge that I have that capacity to see or to be shown, or for people to visit me, to tell me they're moving on, or for people who are giving birth and I'm told they're giving birth. And then I can be with them at distance. And that is something that I am given to hold, that capacity to hold from that place deep within the silence. And I'll share something else. That place is like a vault with a circle of elders, and I can meditate in there and hear the sound of the heartbeat of Mother Earth as the drop of water comes through the ceiling, creating stalactites and stalagmites. And that's the place of still point. I'm not saying I'm there all the time, but I'm working on it. So very courageous too, very hardworking like Juliet,
Absolutely.
and very dedicated to voicing. One of my gifts is my voice. I was told recently that through the sound of my voice, I touch something in people. That's very difficult for me to know what I touch, but it does something, and there is something like they come home, they feel held, they feel seen, and they can start as something happens. And that's happened with a few people who have mentioned that about my voice. Now, I don't know, I've never liked my voice. So you see how complex this is.
Yeah, time to like it, Brigitte. Time to.
So Kathy is saying, wow, amazing, thank you. Mabi and Julia, thank you for your beautiful wisdom, Abigail. And thank you for yours. Remember, each one of you are light bearers. Each one of you are. Why humanity is being enslaved is because we have the capacity to travel through the universe. And that capacity has been shut down. We are energy portals. Each one of you are unique. There is no two ones like you because you're a unique manifestation of the source of the divine. And that's amazing. And I love that because that gives hope, doesn't it? That really gives hope. So we have Mabi and Juliet, thank you for your beautiful wisdom. I think I've covered that. Marianne, I didn't cover that. My knitting looks more like knots. Lovely. But I love even being in the presence of someone knitting or crocheting in the case of my family. Well, Marianne, when you come to France, I will crochet with you and I will knit with you when my wrist is mended. I love knitting. I love crocheting and I love macrame. It's something, it's very grounding, it's very soothing, and it's very much a feminine process. And men, when I went to Norway, men used to knit and I used to love it. Almost, I would think, 2/3 of men when I was in my 40s knitted in Norway, of those I met. And it was quite a lot. Isn't that interesting? So Abigail says, maybe one day I will visit you in France. You're welcome, Abigail. You're welcome. My house, while I'm still here and I haven't sold it, I don't know what this place is going to do. I've been told recently that it's going to be bursting at the seams.
Wow.
I'm a bit scared about that, but because I don't know I'm going to deal with that.
Sounds like my house, Brigitte.
Yeah, it sounds like there's going to be a flood of people, a different immigration of people who have nothing.
Absolutely.
And I feel this is why we were put in different places on earth, because I always wondered what I was doing here. And I held it for so many years. So there we are. So I really hope, Kathy, now that you're getting a sense of what what we're speaking about when we speak about our talents and our skills. So what were the skills of your mother and your grandmother and your great grandmother? I mean, they went through the wars. They lost some of their sons. I'm speaking of my grandmother, my great grandmother. She lost two of her youngest, 18 and 20.
Oh gosh, that's so tragic.
So they went through that. But the resilience, they kept going. And they built up after the wars. There was nothing. And my father and mother the same. They were in war times. There was nothing. Mom used to say they used to eat dandelions and rutabaga, which is Jerusalem artichokes, until they came out of their ears. And she couldn't stand another Jerusalem artichoke after the war. And she couldn't stand eating seeds either. So we have to laugh because this is about Halloween and bringing them, each one of us, our great grandparents lineages, my God, they hold so much. And we are, we are sitting on them. In shamanism, we say, I have my mother, my father, my grandmother, my grandfather, my great-grandmother, my great-grandfather, and you go. And we are right now clearing all that, clearing what has never been dealt with. Does require a bit of courage, doesn't it? And he says stuff.
Huge courage. So we're at the,
I know we are at the end. Kathy, thank you. Don't know. I lost my parents when I was in my 16. My grandparents were passed on. I will meditate further on this topic. They're in you, Kathy. Even if we lose them and we never know them, we know. If we just allow ourselves to create spaciousness inside ourselves, we remember we were there at the beginning of time. I remember the dinosaur. I remember the pterodactyl. I remember seeing through their eyes and seeing them. I remember the stars. I remember being in the stars. So if we stay trapped in, I only had my parents until I was 16, yes, there is a trauma there, but they are within you. Never forget that. They are in you. You're carrying all their gifts through your DNA and much more through your heart. So Juliet's voice affects me that way too. Very warm and supportive. I'm so glad, Jack. Beautiful, beautiful blessings, wise ladies, and thank you, Abigail. Marianne, would love to visit you in France. My sisters and my aunt were constantly crocheting. The baby blanket and Afghan supply is vast, but also among my most carriers of wonderful memories. Beautiful, Marianne. Kathy, noted, how sweet. Thank you. Marianne, cherished carriers. Yes. So there we are, Juliet. I hand it over to you. We've been dancing to and fro.
so yes.
Yes,
beautiful.
Ina. We are all that is, was, and will be. I totally agree, Ina. I totally agree, and I feel it. And this is where we're at right now. There's no past. There's only now, and the future will be as we open to what is.
Yeah.
Don't go, stay and talk all night, please, says Debbie. Well, it's not down to me, but Juliet and I were pretty full on.
Yeah.
And already we're doing once a week, which is beautiful.
Yeah. So we will be back next week, Goddess willing.
And God willing.
Yeah. So
and
do
health
share.
willing. And remember to hold the light right now and stay absolutely in thanksgiving and gratitude. And for what is taking place into the other dimensions. Because my God, we're not alone. Don't talk all night. I won't get any dinner. Oh, Graham, I can see where your focus is on. Dindins, yes, you are in England, in France 8 at lunchtime. So you want Debbie to cook for you. I love that. Thank you both so much, says Ina. And thank you, Ina. Thank you both, says Kathy. Therese sends a heart. Oh, Therese.
Yeah, lots of love to you all.
Oh, Therese, love you.
Yes.
You are very close to my heart, Therese. And all of you. Marianne, Kathy, Jack, Debbie, Graham, Ina, Kathy. And those I've forgotten, please be mindful. I'm not of your age. So, 1,000 blessings.
Yeah, lots of love to you all.
Mm.
And remember on Halloween to light those candles for the light and for your blessed family line. and honor them and yourself.
And Jack said, thank you, beautiful one, so much love and wisdom. Ah, yes. You bring a lot of joy. I'm so glad we did, because the topic tonight was on Halloween. Could have taken us into very, very dark labyrinth, and I didn't feel that that was what was required. I felt really that the light needed to stay right at the front. And I hope we have done that for all of us and for the planet. Teapot Pixie, oh, here you are now. I never heard of you, Paul, for the whole meeting. Oh, and thank you for gathering us together. So grateful to you for this precious hour, Marianne. Thank you for this precious time. And Debbie, bye-bye. Thank you and loads of love on this beautiful autumn evening. Yes. And thank you to you.
Yeah, lots of love. Please share with your friends, and so they can be supported.